Good evening, everyone. Before calling this public meeting of Council to order for February 3rd, I would respectfully acknowledge on behalf of Council and the community that the City of Pembroke resides on the unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We thank the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. It is with this statement that we honor and respect the Algonquins on whose land we reside. I'd call this public meeting to order. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest in relation to this public meeting of council? Seeing none. I entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Purcell, seconded by Councillor Keel. Those in favor? That is carried. One item on this evening's public meeting is this meeting has been called to consider the application under the City of Pembroke zoning bylaw 2020-05 to rezone the property municipally known as 0 Bennett Street from an open space OS zone to a residential type 4 holding R4H zone. Madam Clerk, would you please provide notice on how the notice of the hearing was given?
Notice was given by regular mail to all owners of property within a 120-meter radius of the subject land, by email to all applicable agencies, and was posted on site on January 5th, 2026.
Thank you. And Mr. Hutton, would you kindly provide your planning report?
Thank you, Your Worship. The applicant, JP2G Consultants, Inc., on behalf of the property owners, have submitted a zoning bylaw amendment application for 0 Bennett Street. 0 Bennett Street is currently vacant land, presently zoned open space OS by the zoning bylaw. The OS zoning essentially allows for only parkland and related uses. The applicant's intention for 0 Bennett Street is for a future medium to high density residential development. No detailed concept plan or specific development plan has been submitted at this point. The purpose of this application is simply to establish a general residential type 4 R4 zone for future development, but with a holding zone marker, making any development contingent on the H marker being removed by council, subject to conditions being met. Regarding holding zones, the zoning bylaw states that any parcel or area of land that may be further classified as a holding zone with the addition of the suffix H. The intent is to signify council's approval in principle of future development of the land for the purposes indicated by the symbol. Where a holding zone applies, no lands shall be used and no buildings or structures shall be erected or used for any purpose other than those uses existing for such land, building, or structure on the date of passing of this bylaw. Any change from the holding status shall require an amendment to this bylaw, and the municipality may require that the applicant enter into an agreement for the development of his/her lands prior to the amendment being approved. So the proposed R4H zoning would require, including but not limited to the following, to be submitted to the city prior to the holding zone marker being considered for lifting: a traffic impact study, a functional servicing report, a stormwater management plan. An environmental site assessment would have been a requirement, but a successful one has actually already been submitted. Site plan approval, or a plan of subdivision, or a plan of condominium application. Any future development would be subject to the standard R4 provisions of the zoning bylaw being able to be met. No site-specific reliefs are being sought by this application. The property is designated mixed use by Schedule A of the city's official plan. This designation says that the area in question shall be developed as a mixed-use area comprising new commercial and residential development and existing uses. As the intention of this application is to allow for future new residential development, this application can be viewed as being directly in keeping with this designation of the official plan. Regarding residential uses where permitted, this application is absolutely in keeping with the residential directions in the official plan, as the purpose, as it proposes future residential infill and intensification to result in new residential units in an already built-up area. As per the city's site plan control bylaw, should any future proposed development be greater than 10 dwelling units, site plan control would apply. Both the official plan and the provincial planning statement direct that development should be on existing municipal water and sanitary sewer services. Servicing is available at various points on the property. The conditions for removing the holding zone marker being the requirement for site plan approval or a plan of subdivision or a plan of condominium, and then the requirement of building permits for any future development, all will trigger the approval of the operations department to ensure adequate servicing capacity. The provincial planning statement states that planning authorities shall provide for an appropriate range and mix of housing options and densities by permitting and facilitating all types of residential intensification, including development and introduction of new housing options within previously developed areas and redevelopment. As this application proposes residential development, which will introduce new housing options and result in a net increase in residential units, it is highly in keeping with the provincial planning statement. And as such, the planning department is recommending the approval of this zoning bylaw amendment application for 0 Bennett Street from an open space zone to a residential type 4 holding zone.
Mr. Hutton, and can you speak to whether there's anyone in opposition of this application?
We have received engagement over this application. We've received a single informational inquiry. We have received a comment from the Township of Laurentian Valley noting that their force main is located under the property and accommodations for this would have to be made. They would like that to be a condition of the holding zone marker. This has already been noted by our operations department that a condition of the holding zone marker being removed would require a significant plan for the movement of the sanitary force main. Finally, we have received from Emily Kops-Soma of 230 Mackenzie Street. We have received an objection to the application. In summary, she notes that her issues are that an organic right-of-way should be reasonably established for the walking trails that the application proposes to rezone for high-density residential development. She notes that fences that CN Rail have allowed to be placed on their property openly and without consequence, that the landowners of the surrounding properties have cared for and maintained for more than 60 years, which reasonably gives them the right to continued use. She also notes that the green space between the houses at the far end of Mackenzie Street, where the old railway tracks are, has been cared for and maintained for 60+ years by the residents, and that that land reasonably should be considered as community property rather than CN Rails. And finally, her final objection is the issue of inadequate infrastructure to support an increase in population that should be addressed before any rezoning takes place. Now, from my previous correspondence with her, infrastructure that she is referring to specifically includes a family doctor that she says she does not have and a 24-hour veterinary clinic, which she says we don't have. So that is my summary of the objection.
And yes, it was included in the package. In terms of support, I take it the representative from JP2G is to speak in support?
Mr. Homick is present in support of the application.
Thank you.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. My name is Anthony Homick, and as Owen said, I'm the manager of planning and a senior planner at JP2G. As you've heard, we have requested to rezone the property from open space to residential 4 with a holding symbol on the property. This zoning would implement the official plan that has already designated the land as mixed use and has already envisioned that this land is to be developed with residential development in the future. This first step that we're seeking this evening provides the owner with the certainty required to move forward with other studies, some of which have already started. As Owen mentioned, there has already been a phase 1 and phase 2 environmental site assessment completed, which have showed that the land is clean. And there's, I believe, the geotechnical investigation is also underway. But this certainty in establishing the zoning and the principle of the use on the property would provide the owner with a greater level of certainty that he can continue to move forward with other studies, engineering design, as Owen mentioned. This is a vacant parcel, as was mentioned, and while it's uniquely shaped, it does present a great opportunity for redevelopment within the city and would really fill in a gap that when you look at a map of the city, there's quite a big hole where the rail line used to run through this neighborhood. Yes, there are certainly some constraints like the Township of Laurentian Valley's force main that Owen mentioned, We've certainly taken that into consideration, and that will be taken into consideration. That could either be worked around, could potentially be relocated depending on the direction that the ultimate proposal heads in. The application is consistent with the provincial planning statement and conforms with the city's official plan. And I hope that council will see fit to approve the zoning bylaw amendment. I'm here to answer any questions that council may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Stay tuned. Councillor Giacono, do you have a report from as Chair of Planning and Development Committee regarding this particular application?
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. This item came before the Planning Advisory Committee a week ago or so, and I think most of the concerns were addressed. The individual lady that had questions about the organic pathway, et cetera, I think we had discussed that in terms that other alternatives were available, such as the Algonquin Trail, or parks, et cetera, within short distances. You can't have a park every second, in every second block, but parks are available. The ideal that this will become a holding zone shows that the developer, in essence, wants to develop the property even further, and he's showing some interest, and therefore that holding designation gives us the option as well that if there is a change that they can come forward, and have the item rezoned if necessary, if we discover any other inconsistencies. However, it does follow the provincial planning statement, and to that end, I think that all this says to us is that all the I's have been dotted. We've noted that the force main for Laurentian Valley is there. Traffic study will be done as needed, and but we're ready to go when needed. Thank you.
Councillor Giacono, is there questions from any member of council? Seeing none, because you don't always get an opportunity to have the consultant here that you can ask questions of. In any event, if you wish to be notified of council's decisions, please contact Mr. Hutton at City Hall, and I would ask for a motion to adjourn the public meeting of council. Moved by Councillor Purcell, seconded by Councillor Keel. Those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Everyone, members of council, your worship, this meeting is called to order of the Planning and Development Committee of February 3rd, 2026. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest in general nature, your worship?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In respect to 7B, assumption of Edie Crescent, Bob Shepherd acts for James W. Lapointe Motor Holdings.
Thank you, that's noted. Approval and amendment of the meeting agenda. Need approval. Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Plummer. Questions, errors, omissions? Those in favor? Against? Carried. Thank you. The approval of the minutes of Planning and Development Committee of December 2nd, 2025. Moved by Councillor Keel, seconded by Councillor Fernier. Questions? Those in favor? Moved, thank you. Planning and Development Committee of January 6, 2026, Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Purcell. Questions, errors, or omissions? Seeing none, those in favor? Against? Carried, thank you. Any business arising from the minutes? Seeing none, we'll move on to presentations and delegations. I don't believe we have any this evening. And under new business, Ms. Soriel, item A, the lifting of the 1-foot reserve on Sydenham Street. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. So the recommendation is that the Planning and Development Committee of Council endorse and recommend to Council the lifting of a 1-foot reserve on Sydenham Street. A bylaw will be prepared for the February 17th Council meeting. So there are no financial implications as all the work was done at the developer's expense. So at the December 16th, 2025 Council meeting, Council passed bylaw 2025-93, which assumes Sydenham Street as a public highway. And as part of that original development agreement in 2019, the city stopped up and closed the unopened portion of Sydenham Street that runs from the end of the cul-de-sac to Melton Street, so that a creation of 4 large estate-type lots could be created. So at that time, a 1-foot reserve was put in place to ensure that there would be no access from the cul-de-sac to Melton Street before the development was done. So now that Sydenham Street has been assumed, the 1-foot reserve along that Sydenham Street cul-de-sac can be removed. The purpose of the 1-foot reserve was to control development by restricting access until all the servicing, draft conditions, and financial obligations were met by the developer. So all conditions of this agreement have now been met. Therefore, that 1-foot reserve can be removed from title to allow the existing and proposed driveways for the 2 new lots on Sydenham Street.
Questions of the removal? Seeing none? Oh, sorry, Councillor Purcell, Councillor Keel. Deputy Mayor.
So this is a standard municipal practice when it comes to subdivisions, and I believe we're looking for a recommended endorsement, so I would move that the committee endorse and recommend to council the lifting of the 1-foot reserve on Sydenham Street.
Moved by Councillor Keel, seconded by Councillor Purcell. Further discussion? Seeing none? Those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item B.
Okay, so this is the assumption of Eddie Crescent, that the Planning and Development Committee of Council...
Excuse me, His Worship has removed himself from the discussion. Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So that the Planning and Development Committee of Council endorse and recommend to Council the assumption of Eddie Crescent, as well as the lifting of the 2 1-foot reserves along Eddie Crescent. Again, there are no financial implications as all the work was done at the developer's expense. Pembroke City Council passed bylaw 2023-54, which is a subdivision agreement with James W. Lapointe Motor Holdings to create a 46-lot subdivision on Eddie Crescent off of Boundary Road. Presently, there are 2 building permits that have been issued for this subdivision. A road assumption request has been received from the developer's consultant, JP2G. To permit the city to maintain Eddie Crescent, a bylaw must be brought before council requesting formal assumption of the road. Eddie Crescent has never been assumed as part of the City of Pembroke's roadway system. This subdivision agreement ensures that all streets and services are laid out, constructed, and installed by the subdivider to the satisfaction of the city. Most of the work, has been completed, such as all the underground infrastructure, like the water main and sanitary sewers, street lighting, a base lift of asphalt, back of lot drainage, as well as the storm drainage system has been completed. Only the top coat of asphalt is outstanding for the road. According to the Operations Department, the work completed at this time is satisfactory for assumption by the city and thus are in favor of assuming Eddie Crescent. This means the city can release some of the securities that have been posted for the property. There was over $775,000 that was originally posted for security, and since the bulk of the work has been completed, we can release just over $614,000, according to a report that was submitted by JP2G and supported by the Operations Department. This leaves security remaining in the amount of $161,000, along with accumulated interest. The manager of operations is satisfied with the works that have been completed and is in agreement with the reduction of the securities. And this $161,000 still allows sufficient funds for any outstanding work, as well as the 20% maintenance deposit that's to be in place for 1 year after the work is completed. So secondly, as part of the road assumption, there are 2 1-foot reserves along the 2 access points at Eddy Crescent, and they can be removed from title so that Eddy Crescent can be assumed.
Thank you. Questions, Deputy Mayor?
Just a motion that the Planning and Development Committee of Council endorse and recommend to Council the assumption of Eddy Crescent, as well as the lifting of the 2 1-foot reserves along Eddy Crescent.
Motion by the Deputy Mayor. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Purcell, discussion? Seeing none, I don't think that people really understand that when a development takes place, sometimes it takes some time to initiate all of the, the infrastructure, the paving, the wiring, et cetera, street lighting, and sometimes it takes time. So anyways, we're glad to see this moving forward. Those in favor? Against? Carried. Thank you. Record will note that the mayor is returning to his chair. Next item.
Is the Pembroke Regional Hospital parking by law enforcement officers that the City of Pembroke's Planning and Development Committee endorse and recommend to Council that the current bylaw appointing bylaw enforcement officers for the regional hospital be repealed and a new bylaw be established adding Candice Bondi as a new bylaw enforcement officer. A bylaw has been prepared for tonight's council meeting. A request has been received from the parking company at the Pembroke Regional Hospital to amend the bylaw to add a new bylaw enforcement officer, Candice Bondi, for enforcement of the hospital parking areas. Presently, there are 3 appointed officers to issue tickets in the hospital parking lots, and one of those officers has left the employee, and a new employee, Candice Bondi, has been hired. A new bylaw, again, will be before council this evening, so if there's any questions, I'd be happy.
Correction, Deputy Mayor?
Just a motion to accept the recommendation.
Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Fernier. Further discussion on the motion? Seeing none. Those in favor? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Oriel. Ms. Sutherland, welcome.
So the recommendation this evening is that committee endorse and recommend to council delegated authority to the CAO to review and make decisions on community improvement plan applications that meet all the plan's criteria and are recommended for approval by the CIP panel. There's no financial implication to this decision. So as you're aware, the updated CIP was approved by council at our last meeting and is currently in the appeal period. So if we receive no appeals, it will be finalized as of February 12th. As with our previous plan, this updated plan allows for application approval by City Council or Council's designate after being reviewed and a recommendation given by the CIP panel. And so the historical process for this has been that the application is reviewed and put together by staff, then reviewed and discussed by the CIP panel, and then once that recommendation is made, then we create another package to bring it to committee for review to go to council. So we're looking to streamline that process to make it more efficient for both the applicant and staff. So under the historical process, that we have essentially doubled the administrative load because you're making 2 separate packages. And then also because of council's schedule, sometimes then people, are on a certain timeline with their projects, so it would allow us to approve things quicker as opposed to always being in the cycle of when reports are due to make the next meeting and so on and so forth. Staff would then provide council with a regular update on the status of CIP applications and approvals.
Questions, comments, direction? Councillor Lafreniere, Councillor Purcell.
I would move that we follow the recommendation. And just my comment to follow up on that is I think it's a great idea, and I think it was brought up at a meeting, or it was discussed amongst us, to try to save time and take paperwork out of our agendas as well. So anyway, motion.
Motion on the floor, seconder. Councillor Purcell, further discussion?
Just
Go ahead, Councillor Purcell.
Sorry, Chair. Just that, anytime that we can remove some bureaucracy or red tape from various different processes, I think it's better off for everyone. So thank you.
Further questions? Seeing none? Those in favor? Against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. No further business before this committee. We need a motion to adjourn, moved by Councillor Keel, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Those in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our City of Pembroke Finance and Administration Committee meeting for Tuesday, February 3rd. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Any disclosure of community interest, general nature thereof? Seeing none. Approval of the agenda. Motion by Councillor Purcell, seconded by Councillor Frenier. Those in favor? Carried. Could we have approval of some minutes from the Finance and Administration Committee meeting December 2nd, 2025, moved by Councillor Jacquinot, seconded by Councillor Lafreniere. Those in favor? Carried. Approval of the minutes of the Finance and Administration Committee meeting on Budget Day 1, December 9th, 2025, moved by Councillor Lafreniere, seconded Councillor Keel. Discussion. Those in favor? Carried. Approval of the Finance and Administration Committee minutes for Budget Day 2, December 10th, 2025, moved by Councillor Keel, seconded by Councillor Lafreniere. Any discussion? Those in favor? Carried. And last, approval of the Finance and Administration Committee minutes of January 6, 2026, moved by Councillor Purcell, seconded by Councillor Keel. Any discussion? Those in favor? Carried. Any business from these minutes? Seeing none. We don't have any, we have no presentations and delegations tonight. Under new business, we welcome our Fire Chief Sell with his monthly reports. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'll start with the December monthly report. So in December, we saw the closing of RFP P25-11. That was for the new rescue pumper for the Pembroke Fire Department. The process is moving forward, and initial planning meetings were held early in January. In December, platoons worked on finishing up outstanding inspections for the year. The reporting period saw the fire department double emergency responses for the month when compared to the 5-year annual call volume for December. So we were over an increase of 100% on calls in December. For the 2-month period in November and December, staff responded to over 100 emergency calls. We teamed up with Building Department, OPP, and County Social Services, and we reached a somewhat positive outcome regarding a property that posed serious life safety concerns in the city. In December, we also welcomed our firefighter for a day contest winners to the fire hall. So Felix and Brock, along with their families, got an inside look at what it means to be a firefighter for the city of Pembroke. We use a standardized teaching plan for that day that coincides with our junior firefighter program. Topics range from basic fire and life safety to actual training evolutions, introducing them to skills that are required if they wish to pursue firefighting as a career. Of course, our partnership with the Renfrew County Fire Departments continued with fire safety messaging in the Eganville Leader. And messaging on Pembroke's Pure Country in December focused on smoke alarms and escape planning for the home. Our social media messaging, it coincided with our 12 days of holiday fire and CO safety that we partner with MyFM for. And on those 12 days leading up to Christmas, starting December 12th, we talk about holiday lights, tree watering, candle and decoration safety, smoke alarms, CO alarms, extension cords, safe families in the kitchen, escape planning, safe cooking, heating source safety, smoking safety, and lithium-ion battery safety, and that all evolves around the Christmas theme. We also did run our charge campaign as it relates to lithium-ion battery safety online. And then, of course, we discussed some no ice is safe ice reminders. And there was some issues, concerns brought to us or questions asked by the public regarding fire safety fire blankets. Because they are being promoted quite heavily on social media and through some retail outlets. And the fire marshal's, Ontario Fire Marshal's stance on the fire blankets is that right now they are not endorsing them because there are no fire blankets that meet Canadian standards testing limits. So they are not listed for use in Ontario. So. As far as fire blankets go, if anybody has any questions regarding them, they can reach out to the fire department. And we also talked about the new carbon monoxide alarm rules that came into effect January 1st. And we discussed a few weather warnings. We passed along information on the water main updates, and we posted some partner agencies' posts, specifically from the Pembroke Professional Firefighters Association, the City of Pembroke, and the PBIA. Acting Captains Verdeel and Zimmerman completed their Instructor 2 course. All staff completed the lithium-ion batteries and overview for fire professionals in Ontario course. And firefighter Troutman and Gibbon completed their 1035 Fire and Life Safety Instructor course. In December, the annual Vulnerable Occupancy Fire Drill was completed at Marion Hill. Emergency Exercise Planning Committee held 2 meetings in December, and the Emergency Shelter Survey conducted by Red Cross was presented to the Emergency Management group in December, which discussed Jean Lajoie School. The Emergency Operations Center Training Room hosted 11 meetings, training sessions in the month of December. The Professional Firefighters Association, they once again supported the Santa Claus Parade by driving trucks, walking in the parade, and by providing hot dogs and refreshments to the parade participants. In December, the association supported the Family and Children's Services with a donation and purchased gifts for 5 Christmas angels. One of our focuses in December under training was conducting pre-incident touring of the SRB technologies. And then the rest of the training for December is outlined. Of course, we saw no renewals of any burn permits. Our smoke alarm program, we conducted 29 inspections, tested 80 smoke alarms, and 1 was missing. Our inspections and consultations was 152 for December, and as I had mentioned, our total responses for the month of December was 50. Normally, we're looking at roughly around 25, a 5-year average. So that's December. If it's okay with Mr. Chair, I would like to move on to January. All right, so the new year began with the implementation of new requirements under the Ontario Fire Code. Most notable of the changes are the new regulations surrounding carbon monoxide in homes. Carbon monoxide is an odorless, tasteless gas that is produced when there is incomplete combustion in fuel-burning appliances and heating sources. Each home in the province is now required to have a CO alarm on every level, which is similar to the requirements regarding smoke alarms. If anyone requires more information, please contact us at the Pembroke Fire Department. The collective bargaining agreement with the Pembroke Professional Firefighters Association expired at the end of 2025. As we prepare for negotiations, the city's negotiation team attended the 2026 Labor Relations Seminar hosted by the Ontario Association of Fire Chiefs and Hicks Morley Law Office. Again, we provided fire safety messaging in the Eganville Leader, and our focus with Pembroke's Pure Country was on ice safety. For January, we gained 34 new followers on Facebook, bringing the total number of followers to 1,436. We had 142,000 views of our content. Main focus for January was presenting education on the new carbon monoxide requirements. And some of our other messaging for January is outlined below. Under education, Acting Captain Kelly and Acting Captain Zimmerman have begun the ice rescue portion of the NFPA 1006 rescue program. And of course, I attended the Labor Relations Seminar in January. Emergency Exercise Planning Committee held their second stakeholder meeting in January. The Emergency Operations Training Room hosted 5 meetings in January. The association supported the OSPCA and St. Joseph's Food Bank with donations. Training for the month of January is outlined in the document. Now we have seen more people as of January 1st. They're returning to the fire hall to renew their permits. So we had 1 new permit issued, and we had 18 renewals in this reporting period. For this reporting period, we conducted 5 smoke alarm inspections with 12 tested. 1 alarm was not working. one battery was replaced and one alarm was installed. We had 96 inspections and consultations in January, and we had 35 total responses.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions or comments? Councillor Keel and then Councillor Giacono. Sal, sorry about that.
Thank you. Thanks, Chief, for your report. In terms of the 50 calls in December, I see that 20 of them were false fire alarms. Maybe you could, just, explain a little bit more in terms of, is there something that we can do in terms of promoting, with residents in regards to, when you call the fire department, right, they're coming. And, it's a significant response. So maybe if you could just talk a little bit about that.
Through you, Mr. Chair. The false alarms, yes, I did notice that, and it was somewhat concerning. I do review every incident report that's put in. It's my job. I'm reluctant. I have a hard time figuring out what the issue is with the false alarms. A lot of them were what we would call people interpreting situations wrong. And so, like, somebody thinks it's an emergency, so they act accordingly, as they should, whenever they think it's an emergency, and it turns out that it's not an actual emergency. So, I'm not sure if education, I would have to think about the educational process. On some of them were definitely letters of warning, preventable false alarms, and those do get addressed. I think you can see from our chart on the last page of that December report that very seldom do we go from a letter of warning for a false alarm to actually fines. People are very diligent when it comes to rectifying those issues for the false alarms. But like I said, a lot of it is just public perception, and that's where the majority of these have come from.
Thank you, Chief. Councillor Giacono.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To the Chief. Chief, the carbon monoxide alarms, some of them are dual now. They have fire alarm and carbon monoxide together. So is a requirement for two of those in a home? Is that in a standard bungalow, let's say?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for the question, Councillor. The new carbon monoxide regulations are basically the same as the existing smoke alarm regulations. You'll require one on every level of your home. Now they make dual units where it's both smoke and carbon monoxide, and of course those ones should be mounted on the ceiling. So what we're recommending is people take a look at their smoke alarms at home. They need to be replaced every 10 years. If yours is close to the 10-year mark, perhaps you should look at purchasing one of those 2-in-1 units. On the other hand, if you do have new smoke alarms, we're not asking you to replace all your smoke alarms with these dual ones, although it's completely your choice. The battery-powered backup plug-in ones, the 12-volt ones, still work perfectly fine. I know there is some, when you do go online for more information, it talks about carbon monoxide alarms being mounted on the ceiling. However, the ones that plug in at the regular height, those work perfectly fine as well. The only thing we ask is that you look to see if it has the Canadian standard stamp on it, or ETL, which is another electrical standards testing agency. So as long as they have one or the other of those, they're good to use in Ontario.
Chief, carbon monoxide has a tendency to stay low, like it's a low flowing gas. So would you have to have one, and say you had a gas burning furnace in your basement or an airtight stove, would you have it in the basement at a lower level? Like, why would you put it on the ceiling if the gas is, in the basement?
So again, through you, Mr. Chair, the carbon monoxide is actually almost the same weight as air, and it disperses throughout the house extremely quickly.
Okay.
I was about 12 years ago now, my carbon monoxide alarm went off in my house. Luckily, my family was out of town. I think it was at one of the kids' hockey tournaments, and I had just come home from work, and the alarm went off. I looked, and I took my alarm that had a digital readout on it, and it was reading extremely high, which I've never seen numbers like that. And then I went upstairs, and it was reading roughly the same, so I called my coworkers at the fire department. They came down, they came through with our testing equipment, and it was reading almost the same. So I did end up calling the gas company. They came and they shut down my furnace. But how quickly it spread, diffused throughout the house so quickly, and it was almost, it was like a snap of the fingers. So those detectors, the one that went off was a plug-in one, but like I said, it had gone all the way up to the bedrooms, and the readings were all the same, so it just spread throughout the house extremely quickly.
Very good.
So
One final question, Chief. Some of the dual fire alarms, like they're not cheap. They're $59 to $69, maybe more. Do the insurance companies recognize these and help a resident perhaps adjust their rate? If they have a provision to protect their home more, is there any sort of contingency by the insurance company say, well, you got a couple of alarms in your house, we can drop your rate? Is that standard process, or would you know?
through you, Mr. Chair, no, I'm not aware of that. But what I will mention is that we have purchased some, the fire department. So we do have some, and we'll be giving some away this year at our booths, community events. We did partner with My FM over the Christmas holidays and donated some to the food bank, so that the food bank can get some of those alarms out to some families that need it. I do understand that it is can be a costly endeavor. However, but I do not make the laws, but it is my job to ensure that people are following them. So.
Mayor Gervais.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just wondering, Chief, if you might remind the public at large in terms of recreational open-air burning permits and when they're due to be renewed, that sort of thing.
Through you, Mr. Chair, thanks for the reminder, Mayor Gervais. So with the passing of the new bylaw back in September, permits now are going to be valid from January 1st to December 31st of that year in which they're purchased. The cost has gone up slightly to cover the cost of the new payment system that we've put in place. So now we're almost at the point now where we can accept all types of payment at the Pembroke Fire Department. Just reminder to residents to give us a call or to check the city website and take a look at the bylaw from time to time. Right now we're in the winter season, so permitted burn times are different than what they are in the summertime due to less chance of fire spread, reduced risk. So just to take a look at the permits every once in a while, and to give us a call if they have any questions.
Questions or comments for the chief? Seeing none, thank you, Chief. Next up, we have our Treasurer and Deputy Clerk, Ms. Lochte, for our January 2026 transit update. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So on December 11th, the Transit Committee met to discuss the results of the service to the end of November and provide feedback. So a copy of this report to committee is attached for your information. I have put together some statistics for 2025, which I will try to share. So since the time of the transit committee meeting, I was able to get the December data from Left Turn, Right Turn. So as we can see in terms of monthly ridership, our 1-year target was to have monthly ridership between 1,200 and 1,700 rides. By the end of December, we had been increasing every month. In December, we had 1,943 rides. And that takes into consideration that we did have to suspend service on the 29th due to bad road conditions and a significant weather event. I am happy to say that I have been able to check our January numbers, and we have officially passed 2,000 rides per month. Now, we are expected to see our biggest ridership in the winter months, and then slower ridership in the summer with the Algonquin College being out of session, and just lower demand just due to weather. But certainly some very strong monthly ridership numbers continuing to increase over time. In terms of on-time performance, our goal is to be on time more than 90% of the time. So as you can see, as the service started to get busier in September and October, we did dip down into the 89 to 88% range. Due to that, we did make some behind-the-scenes programming adjustments to how rides are allocated between the two different vehicles. And that did improve our on-time performance in November. In December, I have looked in more detail at the data, and the biggest day of rides that were late were bad weather days, where driving in general was very difficult around the city. So certainly it does seem like the programming changes have improved on-time performance, but it is something, because we are sort of right on the line of on-time, it is something that we're still monitoring very closely to see if there's other tweaks that we need to do in the Blaze transit software itself, again, to make sure that our on-time performance is in the acceptable range. For rider satisfaction, that is also something that's been improving over time. We want to see that as a target of, more than 4 stars out of 5. Over the first few months of service, we were into the 4.7, 4.8 range, and we did have a number of comments, like handwritten comments from the different riders. I think we had 2 negative comments in December. So overall, I think the learning process behind the new service has sort of settled down, and so the main rating that's being submitted is the 5 stars, with a lot of compliments to the great drivers that we have that operate the service. And it's certainly, they're very friendly and approachable, and you can see that coming through in the comments that riders leave. As we get busier, the trip rejection rate is something that we need to closely monitor, because if the service is getting busier, the chances are, as more people are trying to get rides, there might not be space to accommodate all of the requests. So our target is to have this at less than 5%. We did start to see an increase in rejected trips in November. So I did work with Left Turn, Right Turn to look at it a bit more closely in terms of time of day. And it was still, I think, fairly reasonable. The rejections are still mostly related to people trying to request trips to Laurentian Valley, which would be an automatic rejection. Or certainly in August, the rejections were related to people wanting to take their bikes on the bus. So that's something that we'll discuss in a few minutes. But overall, again, we're going to continue to monitor the trip rejection rate, particularly because our daily ridership is increased. So in addition to having ridership over 2,000 in the month of January, we are also starting to see over 200 rides per day on the vehicles, which is really good. So in terms of our other measures that we do to track our operational performance, again, you can see our monthly ridership and on-time performance there. Our service availability has been at 100%, and our driver shift performance has also been improving as ridership has increased. So again, we want to see that, in the 70 to 75% range, and in December, we've exceeded that target. In terms of rider experience, again, our rider satisfaction has been good. Our trip rejection rate is still not at the alarming stage. Our riders per service hour has been steadily increasing with ridership. We still have a very high no-show trip rating. So our target is to have 8 or less % of no-show trips. So you book the trip and then you don't actually show up to take the ride. So we are seeing that at 9%. So as service gets busier, we might have to crack down on that a little bit. I haven't been penalizing anybody for it yet because it is a new service. Typically, there's a high chance you might miss your trip the first time if you don't understand that it's not going to pick you up at your house. You have to go to the stop. So there are sometimes a bit of confusion about how the service works at the beginning. But again, once you kind of have successfully taken your first trip, it seems to go really well after that. So that'll be something that will have to be monitored, I think, over the winter time to at least try to communicate to, if you unfortunately can't make your ride, please cancel it in the app so that the spot is available for somebody else. And again, we have seen a very high proportion of mobile payment, particularly in comparison to other jurisdictions. So our goal is to have between 70 to 80% pay online, and we've been consistently at 72% for the past several months. And finally, in terms of the economic benefits of the service, we can see from our 2025 stats that 47% are taking transit to go to work, 17% going to school, both high school and college, 8% for shopping, 5% for medical appointments. Entering the reason from your trip or for your trip is not something that's required, so we do have some that don't specify. But again, I think it's a strong indication that there is economic benefit to the community. So this information is now available on the city's website, and as I get the different monthly data, I will continue to update it until we can get our Power BI going, just so that information is out there for everybody. So we have officially reached 6 months of service. So we are at the point of our 6-month service review. So we have launched our 6-month survey for this new service. It is live on the engagepembroke.ca website, which I'm showing here. So Engage Pembroke is the new platform that we use for community engagement. So we will continue to use this platform not only for the Ottawa River Transit Survey, but we have used it in the past for budget feedback, for asset management feedback. We have had information here about our community improvement plans. So as different projects come about that require public feedback, it will all be here. So if you go to engagepembroke.ca and click on the Ottawa River Transit project, you can start the survey right on this page. And we do have, if some people are looking for more information, we do have a bit of a description as well as just a service overview in terms of how you can book a ride, how the service works, and the key performance indicators that we talked about, as well as our main video about how to ride ORTC and some transit brochure and information that we have. So again, we're encouraging everybody to take the survey, both riders and non-riders. We will be doing radio advertising. It is up on Facebook, and please encourage everybody to take the survey. There is a separate survey going out to businesses this week to collect different information. So if business owners ride the bus, they can take this survey, but we want specific information from business owners themselves to see how the service fits their employee shifts and that kind of thing. So we have issued a separate one that isn't part of this webpage for that purpose. So the survey itself closes February 22nd, and we are looking to have a transit committee meeting the second week of March to discuss the results. And I believe the deputy mayor is going to mention this, but I will also be at Snow Spree, Snow Central on February 16th with a kiosk. If anybody wants to take the survey while they're there. The next item in terms of the transit overview with how things have been going is that the town of Petawawa has reached out to me and their consultant, Dillon Consultants. So they're currently undertaking a transit feasibility study, which is what the city did a number of years ago to kind of lead up to piloting this new service. So they're on the same path. I have provided, as a good neighbor, some information to Dillon Consulting just to help them in the development of their own report. It is my understanding that Algonquin College has reached out to the town of Petawawa and would like a similar service there. And as well, there has been some talk about the city doing a presentation to the town of Petawawa. But I guess I would just caution that any presentation we would do would have to just be on our service and how it's been going in our experience. Certainly, if there was any talk of a collaboration between the two communities, that's something that would have to come back to council for discussion, because that's related to policy setting about whether or not that's something we would want to entertain. But there has been some interest of the city kind of sharing our experience with council in Petawawa, so I'll keep you up to date on that. And I guess my final information item or question for council related to the transit service is the topic of bicycles. So again, there has been some interest from different people that I've talked to on the trail, so to speak. Right now, because of the vehicle type that we have, there's no ability to have a bike rack on the exterior of the bus. It could only be on the interior. So I understand this is something that North Grenville does, and they actually have quite a few people interested in bringing their bikes in the summer months onto the bus. For us to do this, we would have to change some of the programming in the background, because if a bike was added, this means a wheelchair space would have to come off. So right now we have sort of a combination of up to 8 passengers or 6 ambulatory passengers plus 2 wheelchairs. So we would have to change that matrix to allow 1 bike onto the vehicle. I understand there's been some questions about, is the bike loose? Is it tied down? So it would be loose in the front of the vehicle, just as you walk in the door. In the same way that a stroller or a grocery buggy isn't tied down, but it's sort of leaning up against the window. If there was an incident, the operator's vehicle insurance would apply, but of course that doesn't stop anybody from suing the city for any incidents. North Grenville has not had any issues with this type of situation with the bike being inside the vehicle. If we were to want to do this for the spring, I would need to know now, just because it is going to take some programming time behind the scenes. If it's something that council wanted to wait and see if this was mentioned significantly enough in the survey, that's fine as well. Just know that that would mean the programming changes wouldn't be able to take place until the summer. So we wouldn't be able to do it in the spring. Depending on when council would make that decision, it would be at least a month or 2 after that to be able to get those programming changes in and tested and ready for people to book. So again, so this report is provided for information, and just looking for staff direction on if council is interested in allowing bicycles onto the vehicle or not, or if you'd like to sort of table that until the survey comes out. So with that, I will pass it back to you.
Thank you for the great news. Okay, we have decided on the bicycles. Are we going to do it now or wait or do nothing? Councillor Purcell and Councillor Lafreniere.
Thanks, Treasurer, for your report. 2,000 rides per month, that's an awesome outcome. I think that's excellent news. My concern is in regards to the no-shows, because I know that there are some organizations that are booking rides, and I think we can maybe nip that in the bud. So what they are doing, they're actually booking rides for clients. The clients aren't showing. So I mean, if they're doing that because they're just putting down cash, the client will pay cash, but they're not really committed, right? So I think when we start talking a little bit about, those bulk trips and those kinds of things that maybe we're looking at, or even just identifying maybe some of those social services groups with a unique code that they could provide. So maybe there's something behind the scenes that you could look at to provide, County of Renfrew, various different organizations, Children and Family Services, those kinds of things. I think that would be, that could nip that 9% down, because I'm wondering how many, of course, how many of that 9% are cash and how many are 9% that are actually carded, that have actually committed to that trip. So I'm just curious to see.
So through the chair, we don't charge for no-shows.
Right.
So that just, like, if they've booked it, the $5 just goes back into their Blaze wallet, and then for the next trip, they have the $5 there. So initially, it makes sense because there is a learning curve. So it's, it's possible they could, have really wanted to take the bus, and they just,
Right.
they hadn't figured out how it worked 100% yet. But it's the consistent no-shows that I think need to be nipped for sure.
Yeah, and I think that'd be a decision that we need to make is in regards to no-shows, because I mean, the vehicle still goes from point A to point B. So there's still a resource that's driving that bus, they're using fuel. So I think if you're committed to the ride, and there'll be a process, there already is a process in place for individuals that maybe there's some miscommunication or they weren't at their stop or they went to a different stop, that's fine. But I think maybe we need to make that decision because it's still utilizing that trip. So, so that's the other thing. And the survey, I went to do the survey. Now the survey seems to be geared to users, right? I just felt that way when I started doing the survey. In fact, I exited out of it because it was asking me various questions, but I didn't use the service as of yet. So how should I, if I'm not a user and giving you feedback in terms of the use, I'm just thinking, is there value to that? Or is it the first question where it says, I don't use the service, right? Does that negate some of the other questions? Because I think you're going to get some, you could get some different, feedback that's really not accurate to the service because the person really isn't a user of the service, so they haven't experienced anything, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. So through the chair, so the first three questions
Right,
are the same for everybody. So it's basically, where do you live?
right,
Have you registered for the service? So that's, have you downloaded the app and do you have an account? And then the third question is, have you used the service at least once? So if you answer yes, you go to a whole set of questions
Okay.
about the service. If you say no, it skips. And it's more about, like, why haven't you used it?
Okay.
And then there's some questions at the end that everybody answers about the future.
I stopped at
basically.
question 3 because I thought, I don't want to skew the answers if I'm not a user, a regular user or a user of the transit system. So, okay, thank you. Yeah, that's it. That's all my questions. Thank you very much. Chair?
You have a comment on the bike?
Oh, yes, I do. I would prefer that we wait for the survey results and we kind of park that until we receive the survey results. My only concern is there's a lot more wear and tear in terms of vehicles with bicycles coming in and out of the vehicle. Maybe not so much in terms of bike rack on the outside, but we're told that we can't put a bike rack on the outside. And then also, it's not just a summer mode of transportation, right?
That's right.
And these fat bikes and also these bikes that are electrified can be quite bulky and big. So who's going to police that as well? And what types of bikes are going to be allowed and what bikes will not be allowed? So just a caution there because, I mean, when you say bicycle, a lot of people think that they can, some of these bicycles can go 60 kilometers an hour, right? And now they're quite bulky and heavy because of the batteries. And if you have that flying around the inside of a bus, it's a recipe for disaster. Thank you.
Councillor Lafreniere, then Councillor Giacono.
Thank you. On the bikes, yeah, I say we don't do bikes right now. And if they want a bike, bike. If they want a bus, bus. That's kind of my opinion. And I agree with the winter bikes because some of them are pretty heavy duty, so winter tires on them and the whole bit. I have a few concerns. I'm just looking at the financial end of it. So I was just kind of crunching some numbers. And right now, we're making about $158 a day per vehicle without salary, without gas, without insurance. So that's what we're making right now, approximately. What is the goal going forward? Is it to try to see if we can get, flush, or how much is the ratepayer willing to pay to support the service? I guess that's, going forward, that's what I want to see, is how much is it going to cost? Because obviously we're where we want to be when it comes to numbers. But $150 a day per vehicle is not going to pay the gas, the insurance, and I don't know what the drivers make. But just going forward, we have to think how much we want to spend on this service. Because I have had some responses in that way, especially with our tax increase last year and then again this year. So that's something I'm mindful of. The no-show automatic charge, I don't think we should be, I mean, if I book a massage and I don't show up, I got to pay my $150, and so there should be like a 24-hour, if you don't cancel in 24 hours, you're charged. So I don't know about booking it online for cash pickups. That to me seems odd. So if you could clarify, that's what they can do?
So through the chair, so our policy technically is 3 strikes and you're out. But I haven't been enforcing that policy because it is a new service. But I think we're at the point where I'm going to need to start to enforce it, just
Okay.
because that number is not coming down. And like I said, I could understand the first couple, my bad, but if it's continuous, then no, because that's impacting our service. And, as you mentioned, that's gas spent for nothing and driver's time spent for nothing. So,
Okay.
so I will be starting to crack down on that. So you might get some complaints about it.
Okay, good. I'm happy with the numbers. I think though, again, the financial end of things, the $5 was the starting rate to see how the service was accepted and, and taken up on. And I think it's great. But again, I don't want to be closed-minded to think it's going to be $5 forever either. Okay, good. Anyway, I'm happy with the report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Jagino?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through to the treasurer. Just a couple little questions. Has there ever been an event where the bus was full and people were turned away?
Through the chair. So I do believe that we have had a few situations where one of the schools has booked enough seats for a whole bus plus to take them to the pool because they've had some lessons. So I do believe there's been a few situations where the bus was full, but I would say on average, there's always a couple people in the bus with you, but it hasn't necessarily been full. So there is still capacity. So this is where we're looking at the rejection rate. So there is still capacity to add more riders without having to increase the hours that the bus is on the road and how many buses we have running at the same time.
Very good. The other part of my question, in regards to sharing information with Petawawa, which is, it's good to have partners and share things. You'd mentioned Algonquin and Petawawa. Now, would that be someone living in the Petawawa area, attending Algonquin College and looking for bus transportation this way? And us not going that way, correct? Okay. That just for clarification. And the other thing, a rather disturbing thing, I've heard from a number of people, they're waiting for cabs, and it's an hour and a half wait to get a cab. And I've heard that from more than one person. And I'm just wondering, has the cab structure within our community, have they reduced their fleet? Are they just so busy? How do we answer that? Can we put out a feeler to the cab companies? Because if a service is being provided, I think an hour and a half is not sustainable. Okay.
Through the chair, someone told me the other day there's a couple of cab companies that have closed. And I'm just not sure if that was just rumor, but that would definitely affect it. So I heard that a couple have shut down.
Just an information item, the Transit Committee was asked, the cabs were brought up at the last meeting, and I think, Madam Treasurer, you were going to reach out to them?
So all businesses, including the cabs, are going to get this second survey. So they should be answering the survey if they have questions, because we
business.
are asking how the service has impacted their business.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mayor Gervais.
Mr. Chair, and thank you for the report. In terms of the questions, and I understand and very much appreciate the questions from Councillor Lafreniere. I know with Kemptville, if you look at their app, and I understand we're going, not app, reporting or program, you can go and it'll tell you what the cost per trip is. And so as I understand it, that's going to unfold at some point. It was in the budget in terms of what that's going to cost to come out with that. In terms of the bikes, I agree that you're doing a survey, so what's the point of doing the survey if you're not going to wait for the results to see whether or not you want to have bikes or not have bikes? I want to echo what the treasurer is saying, is that everyone needs to complete the report, the survey, because we saw not too long ago, we get a survey and there's 300 people or something that completed it. And not to minimize those 300 people, but okay, statistically, what is that? What are those results telling you? Because it's only based upon 300 people completing it. So I would very much encourage everybody to complete the survey, because otherwise are we left with data that's skewed because it's not enough individuals. My only question is in terms of if there's a different survey going out to businesses, how do we know what the businesses are? Because Ms. Sutherland's gone, but as I understand it, businesses are supposed to register, no fee and so forth, but I highly doubt that all of our businesses register in the city of Pembroke with the city. So I'm just, there's no yellow pages anymore, so I'm just trying to figure out how it is that we know that we've actually captured everybody that we want results from, including the cab companies. Quite curious as to cab companies and others. It might be anyone in the transit, Care for, or whoever, does it impact their lives or not? But anyways, I'm curious, that's the one question, but that's my comments about it. Thanks.
Mayor Gervais. Councillor Keel, and then we have Councillor Plummer.
So certainly the metrics to me looks certainly good. The usage is perhaps actually doing a bit better than I thought it would be doing this early on in the process. People's habits are hard to break, but this to me shows me that there was in fact a significant need, and that need has latched on to the program. With respect to the per day number, I'm just wondering, Councillor Lafreniere, how did you get to your daily number?
Here's the math. So I based it on $1,900 a month
Okay.
times $5, which would be $9,500, divided between two vehicles, $47.50 per vehicle.
Oh, per vehicle. Okay.
And then you break it down, 30 days, I just kind of
Okay.
divided it by 30 days, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it came to $158 per vehicle a day.
No, I'm with you now.
Okay.
I didn't divide between the two vehicles.
Okay,
'cause
very
I was
good.
I'm at 300.
You're a lawyer,
I'm
not a mathematician, that's okay.
I'm at 300 and some bucks per day,
Yeah,
but
no.
yeah, I didn't divide between the two. I mean, certainly at the end of the day, when this pilot project is over, I'm assuming the biggest question is going to be, does the impact support the cost? That's pretty much everything that we do around this table. I don't, right now, I think it's a little, if I'm not mistaken, this is a 3-year pilot and we're at 6 months. So certainly into next year and the year after, I'll probably be more keen to be looking at the numbers. Right now, I'm keen to see that the metrics are increasing. The fact that we got 5 stars in December is, I wonder if the city's ever gotten 5 stars for anything in the past. I don't say that to be mean. Municipalities are easy to pick on by the residents, and so I mean that certainly shows that they're both enjoying the service. To me, that also shows that they're enjoying our drivers. That's a big part of the experience. With respect to the cab companies, I share Councillor Jacquinot's concerns. I was out this weekend and at a restaurant, and it took about an hour and 15 minutes for a cab to arrive, and the gentlemen were not sober and not happy about their wait, and it was causing some issues. It certainly was, because I did think about the transit, and then looking at the clock, I was like, no, that's no longer in operation. But I do think it's something that that the city should also explore. I think it was a couple years ago. I worked a lot with Ms. Sorial to open up our cab bylaw to allow ride share. A lot of people ask me about ride share. It's not banned anymore. It's allowed, but to my knowledge, no one has approached us about actually jumping into that market, and that would have to be a private player to decide to start a rideshare company in Pembroke. The Petawawa stuff interests me greatly. I do wonder in terms of whether our computer system is capable of working together, or perhaps maybe they end up going with the same company, and whether there is a way to shuttle, to have a shuttle that's doing nothing but going back and forth between Pembroke and Petawawa. Might then be time for Laurentian Valley to consider things as well. With respect to the bikes, at this point in time, I mean, I'll be, nothing against you, Madam Treasurer, but the only thing put to us is a question. I don't know how many people are interested and whatnot, so I think, like my fellow councillors, I would just want to see what is the interest uptake, because we might be talking about something that's frankly not even that much of an issue. If it is an issue, then I will likely have more questions sort of down the line of Councillor Purcell, which, a grocery basket or something is not quite the same as a bicycle flying at you in the event that the brakes are put on. So I think we'd want to think about that a bit more, but I don't frankly feel like putting brain power to an issue that hasn't, in my opinion, actually ripened yet. So I think this looks, again, very good so far. Obviously, we're going to keep paying attention to it. I appreciate that that there are some ratepayers who are concerned about the cost of it, but I'm also looking at a metric that tells me that this is 47% of riders are going to work at a job. That to me is pretty important in the city of Pembroke. To be honest, I don't know that I would have thought that it would have been that high in terms of the workplace metric, but certainly I want to do everything we can to support our local businesses. And if you think you have a problem with the tax bill now, if you can't get to your job, you're going to have an even bigger problem with the tax bill at that point. So very well done, Madam Treasurer.
Thank you. Councillor Plummer?
Thank you, Chair. To the Treasurer, do we have a yearly cost on what it actually costs the city to run the bus service?
So that's in your budget package. So we are phasing it in over 3 years. So we do have some money put towards it from reserve. So if you kind of back that number out, then that's what the net cost is. So I don't know, somebody has their book in front of them.
I have my book. I was just going through it.
So it's Department 55. I don't know the number off the top of my head. So it's after waste management in the book.
Yeah, just give the.
So transit's on page 47 and 48. So this year's budget is $349,000 going towards transit. And we can see that we are still transferring about $142,000 from reserve. So it would be about $500,000. And I will say that, transit is a public service. It's a public good. There is no transit system in Canada that is fully supported through fees. It does require some form of taxation funding to support the operating costs of it.
And secondly, at the end of this 3-year pilot, can you remind, do those buses, we have 2 buses, are they leased or are they owned?
So through the chair, so the city does not own the vehicles. There are grant opportunities from time to time to acquire vehicles that the city could own, but we haven't sort of gone down that path yet because we'll have to see if it's a permanent service. So right now, the operator owns and operates the buses and maintains them. So that's all part of the contract. So our contract can be changed if, for example, we do get a bus available through a grant, then our contract cost would go down. But at this time, we're not considering that until we're deciding on if it's a permanent service or not.
Right, thank you.
Pardon? Yes. Did you want to say something? Yeah, go ahead.
Just for calculation's sake, if we were to make 9,500 again a month for the two vehicles times 12, it would be 114,000 for the year. So it would be costing the city about 385,000 for this year. But that's just throwing it out there. But it is.
Councillor Purcell, then I'll speak.
I mean, I hear what Councillor Fernie is saying, but, this is also the council that turned down, a $300,000 grant for electric buses for the cost of a charger. So that would have actually reduced it.
500,000.
Yeah, that would actually reduced it, our operating costs significantly this year. And we would have owned the buses. So, I mean, that was a decision of council, so be it.
Okay, yes.
Have we looked at other revenue sources yet? Advertising and that kind of stuff?
So advertising is on my list for this year. So I'm just trying to catch up from the budget, and then I'll be working on that.
Thank you. So speaking last, thank you for all your hard work and your staff, and transit is going very well. It's actually doing better than many of us thought. I see the two buses zipping around town when I come back from work every day. I've had many calls and comments, messages to me on how it changed people's lives. The co-op program at both schools, it's enabled more co-op opportunities for students, and we all talk about future trades and everything, and experience. As far as the bike goes, I agree we should wait till the survey. There's a liability exposure when you put a bike on a small bus, so that's something to consider down the road. But we'll wait till we have the survey. You mentioned rideshare, and I've been going to Roma and Good Roads and Amo the last few years, as we all have, some of us, and I always meet up with a rideshare company. And the rideshare companies always tell me they're waiting for blanket legislation like BC and Quebec have, which would enable them to go from one town to another without getting a hassle. Because, when you're in a cab, you can drop somebody off, but you can't pick somebody off, or that policy or situation. So the provincial government had it in their throne speech that they were going to be looking at rideshare legislation. They didn't put a commitment on it, but it is a possibility. Anyhow, thank you very much, and we'll see you at the February 16th at the Snow Spree. Thank you. With that said, motion to adjourn. Councillor Keel, seconded Councillor Plummer. Those in favor, we are adjourned.
like to call this council meeting to order for February 3rd. I would ask those who wish and are able to please take an opportunity to stand for an opening prayer or reflection. Before opening this meeting of council, I would ask those who wish, each in your own way, silently join in a prayer guidance over these proceedings. Thank you. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest in relation to this council agenda? Seeing none. A series of minutes to go through this evening. First is regular meeting of council, January 20th, 2026. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, second by Councilor Purcell. Those in favor? That's carried. Adoption of a number of minutes. First up is Planning and Development Committee, December 2nd, 2025. Moved by Councilor Keel, seconded by Councilor Giacono. Those in favor? That is carried. Another Planning and Development Committee, January 6th. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councilor Purcell. Those in favor? That is carried. Then we're into Finance and Administration Committee meetings, December 2nd, 2025. Councilor Keel, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Those in favor? That is carried. Another one, Finance and Admin, which is Budget Day 1, December 9, 2025, moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Lafreniere. Those in favor? That is carried. Finance Day 2, December 10th, 2025, moved by Councillor Keel, seconded by Councillor Plummer. Those in Councillor Purcell. Those in favor? Carried. Finance and Administration, January 6, 2026. Deputy Mayor and Councilor Purcell, those in favor? That is carried. And then receiving local board minutes at Pembroke Public Library was December 18th, 2025 that we're receiving. Deputy Mayor and seconded by Councilor Plummer. Those in favor? That is carried. No delegations this evening, nor staff reports or proclamations, bringing us through to a series of bylaws, particularly because of the budget. So first up, 2026-10, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Andrew Plummer, that bylaw 2026-10 to establish tax ratios for prescribed property classes for the year 2026 be adopted and passed, and further, that the said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Okay.
Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Plummer, that bylaw 2026-10 to establish tax ratios for prescribed property classes for the year 2026 be adopted and passed, and further, said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Deputy Mayor.
Worship. Section 308 of the Municipal Act requires a bylaw to set tax ratios for municipal purposes for 2026. This bylaw establishes a tax ratio for each property class in relation to the residential class, which is used in the calculation of property taxes for the year. The ratios are the same as 2025 for all classes of property.
Thank you. Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. Next is 2026-11, 2026. Councillor Lafreniere.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Troy Purcell, that bylaw 2026-11 to provide for a tax levy for the City of Pembroke for the year 2026, and to establish tax rates to raise same be adopted and passed, and further that the said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Lafreniere and seconded by Councillor Purcell, that bylaw 2026-11 to provide for a tax levy for the City of Pembroke for the year 2026 and to establish tax rates to raise same be adopted and passed, and further said bylaw be signed by the Mayor and Clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Councillor Lafreniere?
Yes, this is a bylaw to establish 2026 tax rates for all classes of property. This bylaw establishes tax rates based on the tax levy that was deemed adopted for the 2026 budget. It also sets tax bill due dates and identifies penalty and interest rates for arrears. Thank you.
Thank you. Call the question. Those in favor? That is against? Carried. Next one is 2026-12. Councillor Plummer.
Thank you, Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Dalla, that bylaw 2026-12 to impose an annual fee to be charged to owners, households, and occupants of any building in the City of Pembroke to defray the expenses of waste management facilities and services be adopted and passed. And further said bylaw be signed by the Mayor, Clerk, and sealed with the seal of the corporation.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Plummer, seconded by the Deputy Mayor, that bylaw 2026-12 to impose an annual fee to be charged to the owners, householders, or occupants of any building in the city of Pembroke to defray the expenses of wastewater management facilities and services be adopted and passed, and further that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Councillor Plummer.
Thank you. Just a little summary. This is a bylaw to impose an annual fee that be charged by owners of the buildings in the city of Pembroke. The annual fee established for residents on multi-residential properties within the assessed value below $300,000 is $66.95, and properties with assessed value over $300,000 can range from $133 to $334.75. The annual fee established for commercial, industrial, institutional properties with assessed value below $300,000 is $133.90. With properties assessed values exceeding $300,000 range from $267.80 to $669.50. And these fees have increased by 3% this year for inflation. Thank you.
Thank you. Those in favor? That is carried. 2026-13, waste collection and disposal fees. Councillor Giacono.
Your worship, thank you, and members of council, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Plummer, that bylaw 2026-13 to impose an annual fee to be charged to the owners, householders, or occupants of any building in the city of Pembroke to defray the expense of the collection and disposal of waste to be adopted and passed, and further that the said bylaw be signed by yourself and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation, waiting your signature, your worship.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Giacono, seconded by Councillor Plummer, the bylaw 2026-13 to impose an annual fee to be charged to the owners, householders, or occupants of any building in the city of Pembroke to defray the expenses of collection and disposal of waste be adopted and passed, and further that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Councillor Giacono.
Thank you, your worship. Just a little overview. This bylaw to impose the annual fee to be charged to owners or occupants of any building in the city of Pembroke to defray the cost of collection disposal of waste. The annual fee established for 2026 will be $180.50 per unit. This fee has increased from the 2025 fee of $158, which has remained unchanged for a large number of years. The fee increases will be phased in over the next 3 years to reflect the actual cost of garbage collection in the city. We're all aware, your worship, that garbage collection is becoming an issue as we live in a world where we want to leave something for our grandchildren. If you're leaving the city of Ottawa, you notice what looks like a rather large ski hill, but it's actually a dump and a waste site. So we want to manage our waste to the best we can, and I think we have a good system in place at present. Thank you.
Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. 2026-14, Councillor Keel, Pembroke Business Improvement Area Budget Rates.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Purcell, that bylaw 2026-14 to adopt the estimates for the sums required during the year 2026 for the Pembroke Business Improvement Area and to establish rates to be levied for same be adopted and passed, and further that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Keel, seconded by Councillor Purcell, that bylaw 2026-14 to adopt the estimates for the sums required during the year 2026 for the Pembroke Business Improvement Area and to establish rates to be levied for same be adopted and passed, and further said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Councillor Keel.
Your worship, this is a bylaw to adopt the budget estimates for the PBIA and to establish the PBI rates for 2026. The total budget for the 2026 year is $221,609. Which is money well spent in support of our downtown businesses and all of the promotion and the hard work by people such as our Executive Director, Bethia Summers, as they do their best to support our downtown. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Call the question. Those in favor? That is carried. The last bylaw for this evening is 2025-15-2026. Pembroke Regional Hospital Parking Bylaw Enforcement. Councillor Purcell.
Thank you, Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Keel on that bylaw 2026-15, a bylaw to appoint municipal bylaw enforcement officers to enforce parking provisions in the parking lots associated with the Pembroke Regional Hospital be adopted and passed. Further that the said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Thank you.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Purcell and seconded by Councillor Keel, that bylaw 2026-15, a bylaw to appoint municipal bylaw officers to enforce parking provisions in the parking lots associated with the Pembroke Regional Hospital be adopted and passed. And further, said bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the seal of the corporation. Councillor Purcell.
Simply a bylaw to appoint enforcement officers for the Pembroke Regional Hospital parking.
Thank you. Those in favor? That is carried. That concludes the bylaws for this evening. Moving on to motions. Resolution 2026-029, snow removal, accessible parking spots. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Troy Purcell. Whereas the City of Pembroke is committed to accessibility, equity, and supporting residents with disabilities in accessing downtown services and amenities, and whereas snow accumulation in designated accessible parking spots in the downtown core creates barriers to access following each snowfall event, disproportionately affecting persons with mobility challenges, and whereas maintaining clear accessible parking is essential to fulfilling obligations under the Accessibility for Ontario and Disabilities Act, AODA, and promoting an inclusive community. Therefore, be it resolved that staff be directed to investigate and report back to council on the implementation of a policy requiring snow removal to be completed in all designated accessible on-street parking spaces within the downtown core, which there's 5 of them, following each snowfall event, and that the staff report include an estimate of the annual costs associated with this requirement, including different options for implementation with associated costs, equipment, personnel, and any additional resources needed, recommended procedures including timelines for completion for identifying and clearing accessible spots post-snowfall, an assessment of feasibility including potential impacts on existing snow removal priorities, routes, staffing levels, or winter maintenance budget, identification of any legal or regulatory considerations.
With council's permission, if waive rereading of the motion. Okay, Deputy Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. At its heart, this resolution is about accessibility, equity, and inclusion, values that define Pembroke as a caring and forward-thinking community. We know that accessibility is more than just ramps and signage. It's about ensuring that every resident, regardless of ability, can reach our shops, restaurants, and services safely with dignity, even in the middle of winter. After each snowfall, many accessible street-side parking spaces downtown become obstructed by snowbanks or ice. For individuals with mobility challenges, a few inches of packed snow can make the difference between being able to shop locally or having to stay at home. These are not inconveniences. They are barriers that limit participation in daily life and undermine our commitment under the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disability Act. Supporting this motion does not commit council to immediate spending today. It commits us to learning what it would take and at what cost to ensure accessible parking remains truly accessible after every snowfall. The report we're asking for will give us vital information, clear timelines and procedure for post-snowfall maintenance, the feasibility of integrating this work into our existing snow removal operations, and any legal or regulatory considerations we must address. This is a practical, transparent step that reflects good governance, understanding the implications before making a final decision. It is also a symbolic one. It tells residents that when we say we value accessibility, we mean it year-round, not just when the weather is fair. I want to thank everyone who has raised this issue, including residents who have shared their experiences navigating downtown in the winter. I also want to thank and acknowledge Councillor Troy Purcell for seconding this motion and for his dedicated leadership as chair of the Accessibility Committee. And thank you as well to the committee members for their dedication and contribution to ensuring that the City of Pembroke does better each year in addressing accessibility challenges throughout our community. Their efforts continue to make a real difference. I wholeheartedly support this resolution and I encourage my colleagues to do the same. So we're talking about 5 spots downtown. We have City Hall, across from the Bonanza Restaurant, beside Scotiabank, beside the Mews on Prince Street, and in front of Holy Trinity Church. Thank you, Your Worship.
Purcell, you seconded it?
Thanks, Mayor. I think this is really a no-brainer. You know, what happens is when the snowplow goes by, it creates the windrow right at the curb. So individuals that are accessing the curb from the parking spot, so it's not really a parking spot, it's also that windrow that's put in place whenever the snowplow comes by, like the sidewalk plow. It makes it a hurdle and it freezes. And I can tell you today, I was down at the Scotiabank and I parked on the street, and I'm able-bodied, and you know, nearly made a header because of just the ice and the slope to get over the bank to get onto the sidewalk. So imagine, you know, individuals that have a disability or mobility issues. It makes it very difficult for them to access where they're going because of the windrow. So it's just strictly the windrow that needs to be removed. So no different than, I don't know, today, or I guess it was today or yesterday, removing, you know, the snowbanks on streets and those kinds of things. But this needs to be done on a regular basis. Years ago, and I think I told this story, you know, every time there was a snowstorm, the downtown Pembroke was actually cleared of all snow. All the sidewalks were pushed to the center of the road, and it was collected on any snowfall that actually occurred over a certain depth. So now the issue is if you go out in front, even a city hall, you'll see a little windrow, and that's become iced. So if we just need to kind of back up and take the sidewalk plow and just move the snow back onto the street so it can be plowed, rather than on the sidewalk, allowing individuals to access the sidewalk, and of course, you know, the businesses that they're supporting. So as the accessibility chair, I do think that this is a value. To me, it's low cost, it's high value for the individuals that are using these spots. So we appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Other members of council? Councillor Lafreniere?
Yeah, I'll support this. Yeah, I've found the same things as Councillor Purcell and as Deputy Mayor have mentioned, and I don't mind seeing a costing, and we'll look at this going forward. Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Keel, and then I have Councillor Giacomo.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll try and be short, just as Councillor Lafreniere was. This is important. I mean, for the people that have accessibility issues, this is an extraordinarily important issue for them. As the Deputy Mayor said, we're just asking for a report and a costing, which I would certainly like to see. And I think it was Councillor Purcell that said it's a no-brainer, and I agree.
Councillor Giacomo?
Your Worship, I agree with seeing a costing. I sympathize with anybody who has handicap problems. I know I have a handicap sticker, and I have a bit of wobbliness. I have trouble getting around, but I struggle through it. It'll all depend on the cost. And I'd also like to know what other cities are doing. I know in the city of Ottawa has a big snowfall, or the city of Toronto, the snow gets plowed. I don't know if it's removed from every handicapped spot along the streets. But if it is, I mean, we're a smaller community, maybe that could happen. But I'd like to know how much it's going to cost. And I mean, we're struggling with budgets from, you know, you can have, as Councillor O'Neill used to say, you could have whatever you want, but you got to be able to pay for it, and you got to want to pay for it. There may be other instances where funds may be raised rather than through the corporate entity. There may be people out there that may want to contribute to that. So well, I think we have to look at the options. Thank you.
Any other members of council? If not, so speaking from the chair, I have no issue with a further report to look at the costings and that sort of thing, as was said by the other members of council. I would say that, and I'm just going to throw this out there in terms of the timing, I'm not going to speak for staff, but I do know, in case council members are unaware, that so we know that the director was off. He has now returned. We know that he has to work on a number of reports, including the INIS. He's supposed to be working on development charges. He's supposed to be working on a multitude of different reports, the water sewer agreement with PET, the water sewer agreement, the studies that supports the water sewer agreement with Laurentian Valley. We know that the civil tech position has been vacant since October, so they are running short. So I'm just throwing that out to you, that in the sense of, if you're expecting a report tomorrow, not speaking for staff, I wouldn't expect a report tomorrow from staff. And that's not being disrespectful, that's just being aware that staff are always busy doing a lot of different things. For the purpose of clarity because I read the bylaw, the motion, I read it several times, but I'm hearing yourself, Deputy Mayor, and just to be clear, for the purposes of staff, 5 spots. So not every spot, because I think in front of the library is a spot, but so not all spots, just 5 spots as you've listed it. So staff, I take it, know the spots. And then my second question is, you're wanting the report to address this being the costing and so forth of snow being removed after every snowfall, not just every month or something, but every snowfall, right?
Every snowfall. Staff can come back with recommendations.
It would facilitate, I believe, staff knowing what it is they're being asked to do. And when I read the motion, I'm left with questions. So, and I see Mr. Unrau's itching to ask something.
Yeah, so the motion is every snowfall, so it would be every snowfall that we would send it down. And I would say that we would take a look at all handicap accessible parking spaces within the downtown. Because the question will be is like, why are you not doing the library one? So we'll take a look at that. And yeah, I agree with the timing. Prior to this being brought up, I talked to Bethia Summers, the manager of the PBIA, and we were going to kind of look at options. There are a lot of downtown businesses that actually will shovel in front of themselves or create little openings. So there's a lot of businesses out there that will take it upon themselves to do the work because they want individuals to come to their place. But I think pretty clear with the report. It won't be until like the budget for 2027. So I imagine that we'll get a report back probably within the next 4 to 6 months.
Yeah, so parking lot. Okay.
I'm just asking because you were referencing 5, and I'm just trying to ensure that staff know exactly what it is that you're asking so that they don't go in one direction and then be
Yeah, well,
told.
these are the ones I got from the Director of Planning.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Any other questions or concerns before I call the question? Councillor Giacono.
Your worship, just wondering, like, how many handicap spots do we have in the downtown area? It's got to be more than 5. The side streets must have one. I know there's one by the Hydro building. There's one on Church Street. There must be more than 5. Like, would the indicators be then that every one of those be cleared, as opposed to only, how did we select 5? When, I want to go to the sewing shop and I can't get out of my vehicle, but you've plowed the one in front of the Bonanza, but I'm not going there. I mean, that may be the question the public would ask.
So, Councillor Giacono, I believe what the mover is willing to, and let's do it as direction as opposed to trying to amend the motion that they brought forward, is that it's all accessible parking spots on street parking spots.
Yeah.
In the downtown. That's what staff understand it to be. I hope council understands it to be that, and so we're not.
I stand corrected, your worship.
No, I got.
Yeah, no, but
I got the information from the staff today, so 5. So they know which ones there.
fair enough. But so for the purpose of what we're voting on, it's whatever the on-street parking spots are, and it's after every snowfall. Staff is clear. We're clear. We're all clear. Call the question. Those in favor? And that's carried unanimously. There we go. Okay, that was that one. Mayor's report. So good evening, everyone. I wish to bring forward my mayor's report at this time. On January 22nd of this year, I attended the OPP annual billing session to discuss OPP billing, obviously. Certainly a very complex matter. As I was telling Councillor Keel at the conclusion of it, you were left trying to determine what it is that they were trying to tell you with their graphs and their different methods of trying to inform you as to the OPP billing. Certainly, the salaries appear to be the major driver for the increases to the municipalities. There was discussion in respect to the freezes that the province had instituted at one point, and then how that boomerang back in terms of ongoing costs and so forth. And I know staff participated at different times in terms of the OPP billing sessions, because there was 2 of them. And so certainly I have every confidence that staff are reviewing that and will come forward at a future time with that one. January 29th, Councillor Purcell, the CEO, and I had the pleasure of attending Algonquin College's 50th anniversary for nursing. Certainly, I'll leave it at this, that I'm very proud of the partnerships that we have formed with Algonquin College over the years, and just super happy to see that they got a new BSCN program unfolding. So congratulations to them for, again, advocating with the province and getting the permission to be able to offer that particular program. Today, which was just an ecstatic day in terms of having representatives from Laurentian Valley, from us, the Whitewater Township, and from Bonnechere Valley. In respect to us, just super stoked in terms of what I understand to be the largest single grant ever received by the City of Pembroke at $28.7 million to go forward for the Pembroke Quarry Road Reservoir expansion and trunk water main. And so what I didn't say earlier in terms of trying to get reports out of the operations department, I'm hoping the focus is on this one at this present moment as well. And so I'm just super stoked, and I want to thank again, as I thank then, is that our CAO, our clerk, director of operations, manager of operations, supervisor of water purification, supervisor of water distribution, the consultant that we hired, because I have no doubt that played an integral role in terms of being successful with this grant, and want to thank this council for ongoing efforts to improve the infrastructure in Pembroke, being dedicated, despite the fact that it's unpopular in terms of tax increases, but being dedicated towards seeing sufficient dollars to see infrastructure renewal in the City of Pembroke, a municipality that's about to hit their 200th anniversary. And so I want to thank each and every one of you for making this possible. Just super stoked, and couldn't say anything more about the ongoing great relationship with MPP Deneau and his tirelessly advocating for the ratepayers of our municipality. I want to mention in terms of other matters that if individuals, because we are getting later on into the winter season, and I know that some individuals from time to time have issues that are after hours, please Google it, come up with there is a phone number there and an extension that you can call the City of Pembroke after hours. But if your water isn't running, please do not call 911. Anyways, I'm just going to throw that one out there because that just, anyways, please don't call 911. You call the number, and yes, someone will, and I did it on behalf of someone on the weekend, and yes, they're there, and yes, they will respond, and just please don't call 911 for something like that. As always, stay safe and be kind to one another. And then, any notices of motion? Seeing none. Councillor updates. I have the Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. This Saturday at 18 Pembroke Street West, across from the old Jan and Carey spot, is the Downtown Soup Fest. $20 a ticket. There are 10 food establishments competing, and I know some of us here will be serving soup from 11 till 2. Tickets are going very fast, and you get your tickets at downtownpembroke.ca. So I like being a Seinfeld fan, I wanted to say no soup for you, but soup for everybody this Saturday. I have the real honor and pleasure of being chair of the Pembroke Public Library Board, which the mayor sits on with me. And come and check out the library and the programming that they're doing. Do an exceptional job. My wife and I, Mary, have the pleasure of reading this Saturday at 11 in the children's department. So come bring your children and share the joy of reading with us. Our treasurer, Ms. Lochsteed, talked about our transit survey, and we will be at the PMC on February 16th during Snow Spree, the Snow Spree Central, along with beside the city booth. There'll be a survey available and any questions that residents might have about transit. There'll be a kiosk set up in the Pembroke Library with a tablet week after next, and also here at City Hall. So you can access the survey that way. And I will leave it to Councillor Frenier and Purcell, as Chair and Vice Chair of Parks and Recreation, to talk about the February 16th Family Day celebration at the PMC and the activities going on during Snow Spree, February 9th to 16th. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Keel?
Thank you, Your Worship. I will start with Festival Hall. I had the opportunity to volunteer this weekend for the Tommy Youngstein, the very best of CCR. We had almost 400 people in attendance for that event, so we're kicking off the year with some really good numbers. And to finish off last year, I can advise Council that the fourth quarter revenue from our revenue sharing with Festival Hall was $6,938.14. Coming up next month, I believe it's March 17th, Dorian Pierce, our Director of Festival Hall, and I will bring a delegation before Council to give you a fuller update on 2025. But certainly this revenue sharing model is allowing us to put capital back into Festival Hall, including, as was previously announced, and as we speak, the purchasing and installation is taking effect, but everyone is about to witness a $44,176 upgrade in the lighting at Festival Hall. And that not only is that revenue sharing between Kitchissippi Productions and the consortium, but the French-English School Board is paying half of that. So a wonderful partnership there. Upcoming this month, Steve-O is coming on Sunday, February 15th. There are two shows. One, I believe, is pretty much sold out with the exception of a couple seats in the accessibility section. The second show at 9:30. Seats are limited, but there are still some available. And then on February 21st, the Pembroke Symphony Orchestra is having their winter show. With respect to Snow Spree Central, I also want to let everybody know that this is going to be the first event that you are going to find the Pembroke Bicentennial Committee at. So we will be having a booth there for people to share their thoughts on Pembroke's 200 years, and essentially over the next, the bicentennial is in 28, but over the next couple of years there's going to be a lot of work and planning going into it, and we'll be happy to have residents join us in that. I'm also happy for the Downtown Soup Fest to be a sponsor of that event. Like the Deputy Mayor, I'm very much looking forward to that event, and I know the last year I believe Little Things Eatery won, and the year before I believe it was Nomada Tacos, so this is the third year for the Soup Fest, and it's always enjoyable to bring the family downtown, and when you're done the soup you can do a little shopping on the weekend. And Your Worship, I do also want to express my thanks to everyone that contributed to the grant that the city got for the $28.7 million. But in particular, I want to thank our MPP, Billy Deneau. The Deputy Mayor and our CAO and I had the ability to watch him at Roma, and he attended 2 of our 3 delegations. He was bouncing around with other municipalities from Renfrew County. He had his own delegations as a parliamentary assistant. He has certainly hit the ground running. I don't even think it's been a year yet. I think the election was in late February. So, Your Worship, not that you didn't thank him, but I just wanted to tack on that having seen him in action in recent weeks, he's really fighting and advocating for all of our municipalities here in his riding. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. You can't praise him enough. Councillor Jacquinot.
Well, Your Worship, I'm going to praise him a little bit more too. In regards to the Deputy Mayor reading with his wife Mary, I'm going to have a hard time dragging my children there because they're 50 and 48. But if they were younger, I'd bring them to hear you read. In regards to today, the grant announcement, of course, just spectacular. Out of a $38 million grant structure, the city of Pembroke received $28 million. And I was pleased to be there with my cohorts today with Councillor Purcell and Councillor Keel to hear Billy speak. He's so enthusiastic. And I mean, he just he's got the spark. I guess that's the word, the spark. And he's so dedicated to his constituents and the county. And it's contagious. I mean, you cannot help when he starts talking but smile, because you know he's sincere and he means it. I know our counterparts from the county were there, and I think they were blown away. Some of them had never been in that building. And I mean, you know, even as an average citizen, if you have not been in there, this is a gargantuan building that was built in 1988. Angus Campbell was at the helm then, and I think the total cost was $80 million. And I was speaking with the CAO today. I said, to build that same plant today, you're probably looking at $230, $250 million. The technology that's there today is still state of the art. People come here to train at that facility from other municipalities. Vision. Angus Campbell had vision. And I mean, when they built it, everybody said, what did they build a big plant for in a little wee place like this? But now we know with our partnerships, Laurentian Valley, we're supplying them with water. The building that's taking place, Your Worship, around our community is exceptional. Everywhere you look, there's a subdivision. We talked about the one, the Eddy subdivision. There's going to be 46 units there. So you got to have a plant that can pump that kind of pressure. We have it. The partnerships between Laurentian Valley and all of us through the county, it was evident today. I don't think anybody that was there had the feeling that they were being slighted by the amount of money they got from the grant. They look at Pembroke and they say, you know what? Pembroke is a regional hub. And I think they identify that. You know, Your Worship, we have, what do we have? We have the regional hospital, 2 major skating surfaces, schools, a swimming pool, college, retirement homes, homes for the aged, and more infill happening every minute. So if it hadn't been for that leadership of Angus Campbell in those days with his council, and I don't know who they were, but they're on the wall there, I think it's wonderful. And just in closing, Your Worship, I have to thank, of course, yourself. I know that you have a full-time job, and at the drop of a hat, you would go to the ministry, you would go with Billy Deno, and to our, to our CAO, Mr. Unruh, and to our treasurer, and to those people that wrote that grant money. That's an exceptional amount of money for any small municipality in our province to get. So you must have schmoozed the MPP. I don't know what you did, but I think you should keep doing it. I spoke at Cathedral School a number of years ago in another life as a mayor, and a little girl in grade 7 said, geez, you must have to be pretty smart to be a mayor. And I said, no, not that you're not smart, Your Worship. I said, you don't have to be smart, but the people around you have to be smart, because they're the ones that are going to make you look good and make you successful. So, Your Worship, to all those people around you, our staff, I think they're to be congratulated. Can't be said enough. Thank you.
How true. Thank you. Councillor Vernier.
Well said, Councillor Jackno. Yeah, snow spree coming up next week. There's going to be free. I would invite anyone to just go to pembroke.ca and go to Recreation Snow Spree for all the events, because some are very specific. Family Day, February 16th, the Monday. That's the main day for Snow Spree spent central at the PMC, which I think is a great marriage between Family Day, because I know last year it was wild. It was just great. Just a few of the things going on that Monday. I mean, the PMC will also have skating, but all up on the upper level will be all kinds of things for the kids. Face painting, balloon twisting, a magic show, a family photo booth. The Pembroke Professional Fire Association will be serving free hot dogs. I know last year they had all kinds of stuff up there. But it's just a great place to be. And I have to say the energy last year, I was really happy to hear that that's going to be an ongoing thing now with the skating and everything at the same time. All week for snow spree, like I said, free skates. There's a snow sculpture contest. There's a biggest fan contest where you have to take your picture at any of the snow spree events and then submit it. You could win a great prize. Thursday night is craft night. There are snowshoe rentals available at the PMC all winter. So if you don't have equipment, you want to go snowshoeing, Saturday, outdoor skating party at Rotary Park. There's a movie at Festival Hall you have to pre-register for, 2 different movies. There's an open swim. There's the Slicks and Sticks Pembroke Curling at the Pembroke Curling Center. And if you want to see Councillor Keel try curling, I heard he might be there. So if you want to come out, that's great. I might be there to give him a few tips. Anyway, I hope everyone gets out and at least takes advantage of some of these events during Snow Spree. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Councillor Giacomo, I understand you have a motion to move into a closed session.
I do, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Plummer, that this meeting become a closed meeting to discuss litigation or potential litigation affecting the municipality as per Section 239, subsection 2-E of the Municipal Act as it relates to 273 Victoria Street, and B, labor relations or employee negotiations as per Section 239, subsection 2-D of the Municipal Act as it relates to fire negotiations, Your Worship.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Giacomo, seconded by Councillor Plummer, that this meeting become a closed meeting to discuss litigation or potential litigation affecting the municipality as per Section 239(2)(E) of the Municipal Act as it relates to 273 Victoria Street, and secondly, labor relations or employee negotiations as per Section 239(2)D of the Municipal Act as it relates to fire negotiations. Those in favor? That is carried. We'll now move into a closed session.